Good morning from America's newest musical leader on television. I'm your host, Geico. Remember to GoFundMe.com/all televis. Click the donate now tab. 320. Road trade, first name, last name. Use your Facebook info, your email, country of origin, zip code. Leave a comment. We haven't had a donation in over a month. Good morning, Mr. Spicer. Latter day.
This is a new day in the relationship between Egypt and the United States, and the president affirmed his strong support of the Egyptian people. It was a candid dialogue during which they discussed both areas of cooperation and of concern. Also this morning, the White House released the official portrait of the First Lady, which is similarly available on whitehouse.gov. And just about now, the president began a meeting with Secretary of State Tillerson, where they're expected to discuss several topics, including the secretary's recent trip to Brussels, where he attended the NATO foreign ministers meeting. As you may have known, just prior to the briefing, the Senate Judiciary Committee voted to advance the president's selection for Neil Gorsuch to the full Senate. While the White House was pleased to...
Well, the White House is pleased.
Beyond the committee... more Democrats have moved past partisan obstruction to acknowledge that Judge Gorsuch is simply qualified.
Judge Gorsuch.
And deserving of being on the bench, but we're obviously disappointed that the overwhelming majority of them are still playing politics with the nation's highest court. If the Democrats get their way, and I know
today, David Trimmer,
this is going to be the first successful filibuster of a nominee to join the Supreme Court, which is clearly unprecedented. With a vote on Judge Gorsuch expected Friday, the American people will see which senators are willing to keep this seat open to get in the way of President Trump making progress on one of his.
This is CDMAYORKREDITCardvardX3.105.
Also today opens the application process for the H-1B visas. The president has spoken about the H-1B visa program in the past. The White House acknowledges that there are issues with the program as it currently stands. However, there are several laws that are on the books that were enforced in the previous administration. As the Department of Justice made clear in its release this morning, the Trump administration will be enforcing laws protecting American workers from discriminating hiring practices.
I really don't think
Looking ahead to the schedule for the rest of the week, the president will host a CEO town hall meeting on the business climate tomorrow morning. And then in the afternoon, he will make remarks to the 2017 North America's Building Trades Union National Legislative Conference. On Wednesday, as I mentioned last week, he will host His Majesty Kim Abdullah II of Jordan. And on Thursday, after welcoming participants of the Wounded Warrior Project Soldier Ride, the president will depart for a visit with President Xi of China to Mar-a-Lago. The president has been briefed on the devastating flooding that has killed several hundred people in Colombia, and we are working closely with the governments of both Colombia and Peru to support efforts to address the extensive losses and damage caused by this natural disaster. The president has also been briefed on today's attack at the St. Petersburg metro. The United States condemns this reprehensible attack and act of violence. Our thoughts and prayers are with the injured and with the Russian people as we extend our deepest condolences to the loved ones who have been killed and injured. Attacks like these on ordinary citizens remind us that the world must work as one to combat violence in all forms. The United States is prepared to offer assistance to Russia that it may require in investigating this crime.
May require an investigation.
I'd be glad to take your questions. Cecilia.
Thanks. A couple questions on the same topic. Jared Kushner's trip to Iraq
Good morning, everybody.
Why is he there and not the Secretary of State today? What's the message that the president is sending?
CBS this morning.
Jared Kushner be the one to take this trip.
I don't think it's not a binary choice in this particular case. Both Jared Kushner and Tom Bossert, the assistant to the president for Homeland Security, are on the trip at the request and invitation of the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff.
Mr. Spicer. How
who was
are
going
you?
there and believed it was an opportunity for both of them. It's ironically the first trip for both Mr. Kushner and Mr. Bossert. They're going to receive briefings and updates
There's 2 million
with respect to what's going on the ground, our military involvement there, and our efforts to defeat ISIS.
Today, Sam Talbot
express the commitment of the United States to the government of Iraq.
Meet with
Tuesday. U.S. personnel engaged in the campaign, and Mr. Bossert
and Jackie Evancho
to reinforce the strong U.S.-Iraqi partnership to defeat ISIS, but it's not like this is a one-shot deal.
It belongs
In the
to
course of
me.
conversation and extensive meetings, that invitation was extended, and they took it
Belongs
up.
to him.
His portfolio is jam-packed and has grown in recent weeks. Among the things that's our understanding that are in his portfolio, he is to broker Middle East peace and overhaul the federal government. Can he do all of these things?
I think not to. It's not like he has a team that he oversees, and I think there's a lot of areas that he has been working very diligently on behalf of the government, on behalf of the president's agenda. So going over and getting a first-hand understanding of the work that's being done, to thank the government of Iraq.
Today on Dr. Phil, from chance to hope,
progress that our
my 22-year-old son transitioned to
is an
a
opportunity
woman
that I think every
and is
government
now
official,
living on the streets of Hollywood.
remember, the media should frankly take advantage of.
Thank you, Misha Barton Taylor. Yeah, we like that show.
Publica report out today revealed that President Trump can
Misha Barton Taylor, thank you.
At any time without disclosing it. So on that, I have two questions.
Okay.
One, has the president withdrawn any money from his businesses since taking office? And two, can the White House commit that the president will disclose future withdrawals if they take place?
I'm not sure what he's withdrawn. I think that I'm somewhat surprised in the sense that anyone would find it shocking. A blind trust, or any kind of trust, rather, the whole entire point of setting it up.
Judge Mathis, a woman sues her former boyfriend for damaging her car.
The point of setting it up. So
then why was this change not made? It was made after.
No, that just. No. I do. But again, I think that you just went and started to say this change was made. I'm not aware that there was any change. Just because a left-wing blog makes the point of something changing doesn't mean it actually happened. I'm not aware that there was ever a change in the trust. And the idea that the president is withdrawing money at some point is exactly the purpose of what
Tonight on The Voice Knockouts premiere part 2.
Of an individual.
Just last question on this. So you're not saying whether or not it has changed, just to clarify. You're not sure whether.
No, I'm actually.
Bull dressed to kill, CBS. Bull and Chuck Bond is tested when Bull helps find suspect in the murder of Chuck.
I got a couple for you. One, there are multiple
Fashion
reports.
Rental, a model turned designer who was killed during her own runway show.
Missile defense, fighter
What
jets,
happened in the dressing room?
No, I'm not going to discuss.
Okay, and then last August, the president sharply criticized then President Obama for not making more of a public case for human rights throughout the Muslim world, throughout the Arab world.
Good morning, press pool.
You guys have now said that it's better to raise those issues privately. I'm trying to understand the evolution of your thinking there. What changed his mind?
What changed?
The president's mind.
I think the president recognizes that those are conversations where we can, as I said, in the
NCIS
statement,
New
that there are
Orleans,
areas
no, confidential.
that we can work with in cooperation and concern, and that's best discussed privately in terms of how we address areas.
How we address areas
need to be discussed like that in order to make progress on them. I don't
in order
think
to
that
make
should
progress on
be a
that.
huge surprise.
Raise them in this meeting, do you know?
Again, I'm not going to get into what they discuss privately, but I will tell you that
Tonight on
we
Stephen
understand,
Colbert,
the concern, and I
Louis
think those are the
C.K.,
kind of
Ernie
things that
Johnson,
I believe
and
progress is
Father
made,
John Misty.
privately. Sarah.
Thanks,
Sarah.
John. I have two. One.
On James Codine, Claire Danes, Christine Baranski, Jack McBride, Zara Lawson, Inside
I know that obviously the
Tonight on
president of
James
Egypt
Corden.
just left moments ago prior to me coming out. But I do know that, as I mentioned at the top, our teams have been reaching out to both the government of Russia,
He
the
does
government
know
of
about
Colombia, and I know that there's been some outreach, I believe,
Columbia
to
jackets.
the folks, to the government of Peru,
Tracy
with
Penny.
respect to their situation, the mudslides there, and then obviously
Tonight on Jimmy
the
Fallon,
violence that occurred in Russia is something that we
Blake
already
Shelton
started
and
reaching out
Scott
from a government
Eastwood.
standpoint. If there is a call, we
Yeah,
will make sure
Jimmy
that we
Fallon.
read that out.
Okay, and secondly, Senator Rand Paul has called the reports that
Tonight on
Susan
Seth
Rice
Meyers,
will be
Ice-T,
President Trump's associates
Frida
with folks
Pinto,
smoking
Julia
guns.
Torres,
Does the
and
president agree
Jonathan
with that
Mover.
characterization of what to
Yeah,
think
move
of,
it.
these reports?
Yeah, I saw Senator Paul's tweet.
Move it, move it, move
Look,
it.
I think I want to make sure I'm clear. I've been consistent. I think we've been trying to say that from the
Move
get-go
it,
that
move
there's
it, move
been an
it.
ongoing investigation that we have supported looking into this matter.
Looking into
um,
this matter.
I will say that we have continued to say that I think there is a troubling direction that some of this
We
is
own
going in,
it.
but we're going to
That's right.
let this review and go on before we jump to it. But I think that it is interesting the level of or the lack of interest that I've seen in
tomorrow,
these
live with
developments when it goes in
Kelly,
one
Scott
direction
Wolf,
versus
Amanda
where I
Pete,
think it
and
was
Scott
going, where
Eastwood tomorrow.
other amounts of interest that have come from this room and beyond. I'm somewhat surprised in terms of the level of interest that I've seen from the press corps at one set of developments versus another set of developments. That being said, I'm not going to start getting into a further discussion of that. Blake.
Sean, thanks. Let me pick up here a couple questions, but I'll start here. Does the White House believe
Give me a B. You got your B. You got your
I'm not going to appreciate the effort there. I'm not going to start going down that road. As we've said before, if we go down one road, we need to go down them all. And I think at this point, we have supported.
This is CDMAYORKREDITCardvardX3.105 conspiracy.
When you see the developments that we've seen in terms of the public on the record comments that Dr. Farkas, Evelyn Farkas, who is the Deputy Assistant Secretary for Defense for Russian Affairs, said very publicly that this was part of an attempt of the Obama administration to spread classified information. Then you see the developments that have happened today. I'll just say that I'm somewhat more from a media standpoint, somewhat intrigued by the lack of interest that we've seen in some of these public revelations and reporting that has gone in that direction that we've seen in some of the other directions that we've seen. That being said, I'm not going to get into.
Let me ask you, as it relates to Neil Gorsuch.
Yeah.
Is the White House comfortable with the nuclear option potentially being invoked?
St. Louis, K.
Said several weeks ago that
we're talking to ABC.
This is something
background.
that he would support. We're comfortable in the sense that obviously that decision is up
Golden, really, ABC.
The Senate to deal with this. I think the majority leader's
Verizon and
Katrina are very clear in the direction that he's headed in. But I think this is.
And I'm sprinting real trade. What does that mean?
In terms of Democrats, really.
He's been a disaster at every phone company he's worked for.
I understand that, but we've now gone from.
I'm not sure if it's linked.
Agreeing that there are certain people that a president has the right, as long as they're qualified, right?
It's just a cell phone.
John Roberts, I think, got 78 votes.
I don't think so.
But when you see
you guys
that
are right.
in one direction,
it is. There's
versus
something
now
wrong.
that there's literally going to be the first.
There's something wrong with that.
Times on a qualified judge that's going to end up going on the court. We have really come a long way. And
Verizon, good morning.
Are setting a very dangerous precedent
Verizon.
when it comes to how they want to do this. Because this isn't about voting against somebody or having
and Time Warner Cable.
It's literally trying to stop using the filibuster for something that it was never intended for. Nor has it ever really been the principle that we vote down
every
somebody
time.
who was qualified. Right.
Thank you, United Healthcare. You don't do.
Judge Neil Gorsuch ultimately is confirmed by the
United Healthcare.
Said they're going to filibuster.
Well, I mean, if you look at, I think 4 Democrats that are now saying that they're against the filibuster. I think we feel good about that level of support. We've I think done a very good job of making the Republican majority. To pass it. It is now an internal question for Senate.
Hello, ABC, ESPN.
But make no mistake, and I believe Leader McConnell on Friday, Judge Gorsuch will be voted as the next.
I don't get Verizon. I don't.
What Friday looks like for the president, obviously a major meeting with the president of China.
I don't get Verizon and ESPN.
Is he going to be making phone calls Thursday night trying to?
I don't know.
I think he's going to be.
I don't know.
Look forward to heading down to Florida Thursday to engage in some.
I don't know what ESPN and Verizon.
Bilateral plus meetings with the president and his team from China. Obviously, that will continue in Friday morning.
What is this about?
We'll see how Friday evolves. But I don't think there's any question right now.
Any question?
According to Leader McConnell and others, that we're going to have an Associate Justice of the Supreme Court ready to go. It's a question of
ready to go.
Zeke.
Just a couple questions about the check presentation earlier in the briefing. You mentioned that
we're on the Metro.
Council, is there an issue with him making a donation?
Forced to choose.
I think there was just.
We're sitting down.
Given the options, he decided that there was a list of.
You rented another one for what?
Accept,
how many people have you guys rented?
It's not as easy to give money to the government as you would think.
How did you pay them?
And aside from the IRS, and
from higher up.
And I don't think you're giving.
Do they know?
But my point is that he looked through a variety for this
as long
quarter.
As they know.
He chose the National Park Service. but it was a decision that he
Not that
made
they
based
know.
on his counsel presented him with several options, and he
Absolutely.
believes that that, as Secretary Zinke pointed out, that there was some great work being
Government
done there,
cheese.
especially that needed to do to restore our great battlegrounds.
Government peanut butter.
To his
money to the federal government. The president's been, you know,
Today's the 4th. CD Mayor Credit Card with X3.105.
this weekend has been facing calls from both officials in New York and in Florida.
Thank you for tuning in, everybody.
Federal funds, request federal funds, which were not in the budget for the.
I'm very excited to do today's show. I'm wearing Savvy from head to toe. I did everything you wanted me to do what you wanted. It's on no best. Audio experience level, some motivational speaker, richest man in America, universe, world, galaxy. Paint the short way, save me some. Highest music in the world. Tweet us via early late at FRESH _ Jordan's JORDNZ. Every 20 minutes of the hour.
the request to go to
We have
Mar-a-Lago
one.
was something that the Chinese
Do it. Remember 311, all the speed screening process of your president-elect. All liquids must be the 3-ounce size container. Ayala. Phil. Fix my life.
Secondly, the president has an opportunity, as all presidents.
Remember 18 USC 2511, these lines split. And
I mean,
Amherst.
this is
Wilson
not
Farms.
something that you
Falsey.
control.
Now.
It's a security
7-Eleven.
that the Secret Service
MerriweatherA.Law, America's first thinking attorney. We make the law sound wonderful the way it should have been resides.
dictated by
Everything
the President of the United States. And
retroactive law.
third is, I would note, ironically, this is a day that the president
It's
just donated
1:30.
a
Relate
significant
for
amount of
work.
money of his salary. back to the federal
1:30.
government. And so, respectfully,
This is a no.
it's at what
This
point
is
does
a
he do
no.
enough? He just gave a very sizable donation.
We like
No,
cookies.
that's the very
Yeah,
small-
That's
everyone
not how we
does.
judge. I mean, I don't.
Everyone
I think
likes
to be able to
cookies.
say that. I mean, he isn't taking a salary. I think he stepped down from his business. He's walked away from
Look
a
at
lot.
CBS, the ring finger.
I
You're not
think-
serious.
Let's. I think at some point he's done quite a bit
Good
in
Lord.
terms of making a donation to the government. John.
Sean, back on Susan Rice, if I could. The fact that it's allegedly the former national security advisor who requested
Good
the
Lord, they're not
unmasking
serious, are
when
they?
it came to the incidental collection of people
ESPN.
associated with the Trump campaign and the Trump
Ah.
transition puts that now squarely in the White House. When you look at that,
ESPN,
in light of the NSC rules that were
Verizon.
promulgated at the end of the Obama administration to
Absolutely
more
not.
broadly share intelligence. Does this White House look at what she
We
allegedly
love
requested
Pets.
as
Pets
a
is the
national
best
security
show.
issue
I love it.
or a political issue?
Well,
Thank you, Pets.
I'm not going to. I mean, that's a
This has
nice
been Group
backdoor
678.
to
This is when it all
line of questioning.
began.
I think until there's a finding of that, I don't want to start
Enjoy
getting
the
into
Masters
motives, because
today.
we still haven't. Again, me
We won the
getting
moon.
to the motives.
Yeah, we
assumes
won
certain
the
things in fact that I don't think we're ready to go to yet, because then again, we'll be
moon.
getting in the middle of an investigation. I do think
English class
there's
glide. You
public
got it. You
discussion,
won.
and reporting on this stuff that I'm not going to comment
Magnavox.
on this any further until
Magnavox. Magnavox.
we're not going to start going down and guessing the motives of something that is not assumed to be
Magnavox.
that it is interesting, though, as I mentioned earlier, the level of
Magnavox.
comment.
Today's show is brought to you by Magnavox. Peter Jensen.
People involved in processes.
Hello, Peter
I think that there's
Jensen.
Margaret.
H.O.
Sean, you
Forensic
mentioned that Jared
file.
Kushner has a team working with him. Can you help us
Peter
understand
Jensen.
exactly what's in the portfolio and who's on the team? And
You got Phil Knight. That's all they got on the
he's announced
TV.
American Innovation the other day. We
Smart. Very
had a bunch
smart.
of those folks,
Look, it's Chuck Bannis.
that have been part of that team, and as he
Look,
looks at
it's
various
Chuck.
aspects of government, he works with different people in the White House.
It's a
That
Vox.
oversee different
Audio
parts
Vox.
of that portfolio. Whether it's
Nothing wrong at all. Give us the
part of the
moon.
team
We gotta
that's
go.
doing the Middle
Yeah,
East
give
is
us
one
the
thing. So you've got
moon.
Jason Greenblatt, who's